let's go. Okay. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. My name is Ashley Diaz-Avito, and I'm the Executive Director of American Families United. At a moment when our country is in crisis, I want to begin by thanking the bipartisan lawmakers who are choosing a different path, one grounded in dignity, responsibility, and family unity. Your leadership matters, and it matters right now. Today, we will be sharing new data from our latest report, Collateral Damage, data that makes clear what many families already know. Our broken immigration system is harming U.S. citizens and their loved ones in real and urgent ways. But numbers alone do not tell the whole story. You'll also hear directly from impacted Americans, from leaders in the faith and business community who understand that this country deserves better. This is not about politics, it's about people, and it's about whether we choose solutions that reflect the values this nation holds. Thank you for being part of this conversation, for standing with families at this critical moment, and we will reserve time at the end for questions. But first, I am honored to introduce someone who is truly meeting this moment and leading this moment, Congresswoman Maria Salazar.
Yes, all right. Well, wonderful to be here. I'm so sorry that Veronica Escobar was not able to. She was slated, and she told me that she really wanted to be here with all of you, but they canceled votes yesterday, and she had to go home. But I wanted to. Veronica and myself, who's the original co-sponsor of this bill, the Dignity Bill, we're working in tandem. We are really working together to make this a reality. And I want to thank you, Ashley Diaz-Avito, and for putting this fantastic group together. And not only this new report shows clearly what mixed status families are going through, what families are going through in this country. And so I thank you for your leadership as well. And Rebecca Chi, she's always been there. I mean, she's the American Business Immigration Council, and for not letting this topic die down. And so we have Telemundo. Who else do we have here? Telemundo?
South Florida.
And what?
South Florida, NBC Local.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you, and news media. What would we do without you, right? Yes. So, and Spectrum News. Beautiful. All right. So, okay, great. So, just a few remarks. And we're putting this news conference together, this press conference together, because we understand what's happening in the immigration spectrum. We understand it very well, and as you know, we created the Dignity Bill a few years ago. It says the only immigration reform act legislation in the United States Congress at this hour. Immigration is a very toxic topic, and it's getting a very toxic topic even more as things are happening as time passes. We all see what's happening with ICE, what's happened with Minneapolis, what's happening with families, Leon Conejo. I don't have to explain to you what the problem is. And what we need to do is to do our jobs as congresspeople and pass a new law. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, who's doing her job, said in a press conference not long ago that Congress needed to write new legislation. Well, that's exactly what we did. We wrote the Dignity Act. The Dignity Act is something I always say, it's Solomonic, referring to Solomon in the Bible, where you cut the baby into two. Is not completely good or satisfying for the Democrats or for the Republicans, but it's something that it solves the problem of mixed status families, that it solves the problem of those three sectors that need a stable labor force. Construction, hospitality, and agricultural. It brings peace to those people who have been here for years and who are undocumented. Yes, they are, but someone gave them a job. And they have been contributing to the economy for years, sometimes for decades. So why don't we give them something called dignity so they can live a dignified life in the promised land? And at the same time, we can give the business sector, the manufacturing, the agricultural, hospitality, healthcare, the dairies, the slaughterhouses, give them a stable labor force a legal one with a very pretty name and very dignified name called the dignity status. I'm not sure if we can definitely take some questions. I'm not going to repeat what the law says. It's a law that that makes you pay a fine. It also solves the problem of the asylum system. It also goes into the legal aspect, so we can make legal visas and the legal immigration space, also more robust. We take care of the whole immigration situation that for 40 years it hasn't been touched. I just came from the National Prayer Meeting breakfast, and the only thing I can say before I take some questions from the media and from you is that may the Lord guide us. We are a nation. We're a Judeo-Christian nation. We have values. We were created and formed, and we grew because immigrants coming in and just becoming part of the melting pot, and all becoming this wonderful experiment called the American exceptionality. So I've always said, and I'm going to repeat it, is that this is the moment to fix this 40-year problem, and that we do have the leader in the GOP called President Trump, who can definitely become for immigration what Lincoln was for slavery, or what Reagan was for communism. He dared. Look what he did in Venezuela. Look what he's doing in Cuba. The Western Hemisphere is a new place. There is a new dawn for our part of the world. So now there should be a new dawn for immigration. And he can do it. And Trump can't do it. And that's why we, proud GOP representative representing the city of Miami, a Republican member of Congress, we can definitely bring a solution to this very problematic and long-standing problem. So with that, I will continue fighting. I thank all of you for being with me, helping me move forward. Sometimes there are days, I tell John Mark, who's the hero, he's right here. He wrote the bill with me. I always give him all the glory. Without John Mark, I would not be sitting here, and we would not have this extraordinary piece of legislation, because he was the one who put it together. We really worked hard, but I have to give him all the merit, publicly and privately. I was telling him, but publicly I do, because it's a magnificent piece of legislation that could solve the problem for mixed families, mixed status families, for the private sector, for the manufacturers, for the agriculture, for hospitality, for the average American. Then they will know who your neighbor is. Because when they ask me about ICE, I say, well, ICE is doing his job. It's whatever the directives the White House gave them. Look what happened with ICE during the 4 years of Biden. We never heard of ICE, right? Because the White House was giving them different directives. It's us. It's Congress. We got to fix it, and we did our job out of the Miami, Florida District number 27, with wonderful people like you helping me and put this together and pushing it forward. So what is it that we need to do? Call your representatives. Call your members of Congress, senators, and U.S. representatives. We've done what we can do. You guys are doing what you can, and may the Lord help us move forward as a great nation. All right, so what questions? After this, I need to go to another event because, votes were canceled and we had meetings. I have to catch a flight, but I wanted to be here. I didn't want to miss being here with you guys. Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, President Trump, during an interview with NBC News, says that he does say that maybe they need to use a softer touch for his words on immigration enforcement in the U.S. What are your thoughts on this, and what needs to happen moving forward?
Look, I didn't hear exactly what he said, but I do know that Trump is an intelligent man. He didn't get to where he is just by fluke. He comes from construction and from hospitality. He understands that those hands are needed. He understands that there's a group of people who indeed are undocumented, but who have been here for a long time, 10, 20, 30 years, who do have American children, who are part of society, who have not committed a crime, because I don't want to have anything to do with Sandy Aragua or with MS-13 or with the rapists. You kick them all out. But don't touch the nannies or the gardeners or the ones who are picking up the jalapeno peppers or the oranges or the berries or the ones in the dairy houses. Come on. Those people are helping us eat better, cheaper homes, cheaper vegetables, and better fruits. So those are the ones that we are trying to give a dignified status. I'm not talking about path to citizenship. So I am sure that we're very close to a solution, and that solution goes through President Trump. Yes, ma'am. Let me just finish in English, because then, I will not know what I'm speaking. So why don't we just do English, and then we'll do Spanish, okay? English.
You posted recently about how what's happening in Minneapolis is going to impact Republicans in the midterms. I'm curious if you've had any conversations with the
Of course.
Or if they sought out your expertise on this.
I have conversations all the time, and I tell them, we put together a coalition, including the Hispanic Americans, and we want to keep them, and we don't want them to feel targeted. We don't want them to feel that we are just taking those who do not have the criminal record. The president promised that he was going to do the largest and biggest mass deportation in history. Great. Of the criminals. Of course, take them all out. There are, according to Holman, 600,000 illegals who have criminal records. Go look for them. I'm going to help you. But no collateral damage. No mixed status families. There are good people and bad people. Just concentrate on the bad ones.
And sorry, I follow up. Last year, you mentioned that you had meetings with Border Sergeant Tom Holman about this issue and about enforcement in general. Have you had any more recent conversations?
Listen, you have to concentrate on what really will fix the problem. And you have to concentrate on the laws. Not ICE, not Holman, not Kristi Noem. They are following directives. And that is what I'm doing. I am helping the president change laws. We're the body that writes the laws, and then the executive follows them. That's it. And that's what they have been saying. Noem said it. So all this is just noise. Let's go to the core. All right.
You mentioned that President Trump could be for
Immigration, what Lincoln was for slavery.
Exactly, what Lincoln was for slavery. So I was curious to know, in your conversations with the White House, what criteria are you suggesting? You mentioned, for example, mixed families.
Do you see me here?
Yeah.
I'm the same there. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
What feedback have you received?
Well, that's going to stay here, not there. All right. Let's see.
Have you found any other momentum on the Dignity Act? What other conversations have you had to get more sponsors for this, and where does it stand?
People are joining us. We're going to have 3 more Republicans. Now they're joining. Now we see the momentum within the GOP, because the GOP members of Congress have constituents who go to them in many states and are sharing the same concerns that we're all talking about. I mean, we're all humans. We're not Martians. So we're all living in the same country, and we're experiencing the same feelings. Thank God that's why I feel that this year this will be solved.
Have you talked to the House Speaker about whether you...
I talk to him all the time, and he is very supportive. He's a fantastic speaker. He's doing the best he can with a very small majority, but he is a man of God, and he understands that the Republicans need to fix the immigration problem now after 40 years. This is our moment. We are in power. We are in power. We have the power of the gavel, so then we should use it in order to change the law. Anybody else? All right, done. Now in Spanish, but I can do Spanish later if you want to. Okay, I'll go outside. That's it? Done. Thank you very much. I know that the press conference is going to continue. Okay, so I can do Spanish here, so then you can continue the press conference. Okay, so I hear you now, but no more English after that, because then I will forget. Then I'll forget. Tell me.
Dos preguntas. La primera, sobre su proyecto, ¿cuál es el apoyo que ha tenido de los republicanos? Es más o menos lo que dijo en inglés, pero en español. Y la segunda pregunta...
No, vamos solamente con una para que no se me olvide. Los republicanos. Los republicanos estamos en el poder en este momento, y por eso tenemos el mandato, tenemos el poder de cambiar las leyes. Aquí lo único que hay que hacer es cambiar las leyes de inmigración. Vamos a no concentrarnos en más nada. Vamos a solamente pensar que la ley, cuando la ley se cambia, el resto cambia. ICE y todo lo que son las directrices que recibe la gente de ICE de la Casa Blanca. Por eso el único que puede cambiar esta situación se llama Donald Trump. Es uno solo. Él es el que la va a firmar y él es el que va a mandar el mensaje al Congreso que él quiere ver una ley diferente. Y por eso yo le estoy presentando la ley Dignidad, que es salomónica, está en el medio, le da dignidad a esa gente que ha trabajado y que ha estado con nosotros, que no tienen papeles, pero que no tienen un récord criminal tampoco. No estamos hablando del Tren de Aragua, estamos hablando de las nannies, de los gardeners, estamos hablando de la gente que está piscando en los campos, estamos hablando de gente buena, que nos está ayudando, que nos ha ayudado por décadas, nos han entregado su vida. A esa gente yo quiero darle dignidad.
La segunda pregunta, hablando un poco sobre ICE y sobre seguridad nacional, el Departamento de Seguridad Nacional, ustedes tienen 2 semanas para resolver el futuro. ¿Qué ha pensado? ¿Qué estaría usted dispuesta a hacer?
Es que volvemos a lo mismo. ICE, estamos poniéndole un parche a la herida. Yo lo que quiero es sanar la herida y que ya no haya más, que es que inmigración, que cambien las leyes para que entonces nadie tenga que temer, si no tiene un récord criminal, no tenga que temer que lo van a arrestar. Y la gente de ICE entonces sepa que lo único en lo que se van a concentrar es en los bad hombres, en los malos, en el Tren de Aragua. Esa gente sí que tenga mucho miedo. El Tren de Aragua, los que han matado, los que han violado, toda esa gente que los voten sin misericordia. Pero esos son los gangsters, no los gardeners. Esos son los narcos, no las nannies. Entonces, es importante como país proteger con dignidad, no darle ciudadanía, no darle ningún tipo de ayuda federal. Pero esa gente no tienen, no les interesa, no quieren. Lo que quieren es trabajar y vivir una vida digna en la tierra prometida. Done, you have enough bites. ¿Quién más? Dime, vamos, stand up. I miss my journalism. You know, it was a lot easier than doing this.
But you're so good at this.
Oh, it's like...
Congresista, sobre las declaraciones del presidente Trump que podría suavizar las políticas migratorias el día de ayer y que Minnesota fue como un ejemplo que ahora podría seguir en 5 estados y aparte de presentar este reporte, ver el daño no solo emocional, económico que causan las familias mixtas, le abre usted un camino para seguir.
Sí, claro, es que porque el presidente es un hombre inteligente y sabe muy bien que viene de construcción y de hotelería y que él tiene que cambiar el sentimiento que hay en el país y que en este momento es el momento más indicado para que él se convierta en el gran líder de inmigración. Él puede ser para inmigración lo que Lincoln fue para la esclavitud y lo que Reagan fue para el comunismo. Y lo está viendo, y aquí está una republicana que le ha presentado una legislación que es preciosa con un nombre fantástico. Dignidad para aquel que no tiene papeles, no ciudadanía, dignidad para el que no tiene papeles, que no tiene un récord criminal. Y de esa manera tenemos una fuerza laboral estable. Sabemos quiénes son los malos, nos dedicamos a buscar a los malos y no a los buenos. Y de esa manera ya tenemos también la frontera cerrada, border security está hecho. Así que es el panorama perfecto. Y el presidente Trump la va a firmar. Gracias. Okay. A todos ustedes, yeah, you have a great weekend, and I appreciate all the support. And thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay, of course. And we'll celebrate. You'll
Yeah.
see. We will celebrate.
We'll be partying
Please
together.
invite me to the party.
Girl, say no more.
Of course. Thanks to all of you. Stay well. Goodbye.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your patience in a little bit of a schedule change. I'm really honored to introduce our next speaker, Austin Coker. He is a researcher and author of the collateral damage report that you all have a copy of. So, Austin?
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for coming out today to talk about research. We want data to inform public conversation and debate and lawmaking, of course. My name is Austin Coker. I'm from Relevant Research, the group that worked very closely with American Families United to produce this report. And I just want to also say thank you to all of the people who participated, sharing their stories. It takes great courage to speak out at this time. So the report is called Collateral Damage, How Immigration Policy Harms U.S. Citizens in Mixed Status Marriages. It's the first of its kind. There's never been research on this particular group before, crucial overlooked group. We surveyed American citizens who are harmed by a broken immigration system because their spouses who are often parents also of U.S. citizen children, have no practical pathway to legal status. So I want to share 3 takeaways today from the report, and you can read in detail the report. There's physical copies on the seats in front of you and digital copies if you go to AmericanFamiliesUnited.org. So 3 takeaways. First of all, what we learned is that this is not a hypothetical problem for the future. This is an urgent problem that needs action right now. 20% of the U.S. citizens that we surveyed in this study have already been impacted, either because they are separated from their spouse, because their spouse has been forced to leave the country, or because that U.S. citizen has been separated from their country because they've been forced to move abroad to live with their spouse because they can't live together in this country. And we find that it's getting worse fast. Before January 2025, less than half of all U.S. citizens sat down with their spouse and had a conversation about possibly leaving the country. After January 2025, over 80% of U.S. citizens in these marriages have sat down across the kitchen table and said, do one of us or both of us need to leave this country so that we can be together as a family? Second, these are not young people in marriages of convenience, which is sometimes referred to, but people in deeply committed marriages that exemplify enduring love. Nearly all citizens in this study were over 30 years old. 70% of the people in the study were over 40, and many of the participants were in their 60s and 70s. 3/4, 75%, have been married for 10 years or more. 20% of the people in the study have been married for over 20 years. One couple had been married almost 40 years. Many of the couples are even in their 60s and 70s, as I said, and have been married for decades. Moreover, the immigrant spouses are not recent arrivals either. These are not people who just crossed the border. Virtually every single spouse in the study, 99%, have been in the country for over a decade, and 80%, 4 in 5, have been in the country for over 2 decades. Moreover, the majority, over 75% of people married to immigrants, have at least one U.S. citizen child. Third takeaway is that these U.S. citizens in this situation, this is not just a legal problem. Our citizens, our brothers and sisters, are suffering real hardship right now. 98%, virtually everyone, reported extreme emotional hardship in the form of anxiety and depression, fear of separation and deportation that manifested as panic attacks, suicidal ideation, and PTSD. 78% report financial hardship, such as families forced to become single-income households. Some U.S. citizens forced to go on to welfare because of the impacts of the U.S. immigration system, also facing limited job opportunities and high cost of legal fees and filing fees to try to get their legal status fixed. Many others, over half, report medical hardship, such as stress-induced health conditions, delaying getting medical care for life-threatening illness, including one member who actually had to postpone treatment for aggressive breast cancer because her husband was held in detention and was ultimately deported. Some U.S. citizens, as I mentioned, have already left the country. And people say, well, why don't citizens just leave? They could leave with their spouse and go live somewhere else. Well, they can, but when they do, a majority of U.S. citizens report that those emotional, financial, and medical hardships get much worse, not better. So we often talk about bringing immigrants out of the shadows, but we hope that this report brings American citizens in mixed-status marriages out of the shadows to show the hardships that they face, and we hope that this rigorous research will help elected representatives across the political spectrum and the public have an informed debate. Thank you for your attention. I would now like to introduce Rebecca Shee from ABIC Action. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Austin, and thank you, Ashley and Allison, for your leadership. And just this report is truly heartbreaking, and I'm hoping that it's going to be shared widely so that we can pass a Dignity Act. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rebecca Shee, and I'm the CEO of the American Business Immigration Coalition Action. We represent 1,700 employers and CEOs from around the country. This past year, the aggressive ICE actions have dramatically hurt our businesses. Some of our businesses have reported up to 40% loss in revenue and up to 50% loss in foot traffic. We have had some small businesses who have declared bankruptcy because their valued and skilled employees and long-term employees have left out of fear or have been removed. We have one member who's a concrete company that reported that their workers were laying concrete in the foundations of a house, and even before the concrete dried, ICE came and took away the workers. Another one of our members recently reported that ICE used fire trucks and went up 2 stories of a house, and so that they can pepper spray the workers who's fixing the roof at the top, and then took them away. So it's really clear that ICE has not gone after the worst of the worst, but some of our long-term skilled, valued workers. And we know that politically Americans are overwhelmingly opposed to this ICE overreach. We saw what happened in Texas this last week, and it's clear that the Republicans, any gain that they have made with Hispanics and independents may be lost this year if there is not a serious course correct. And we believe that serious course correct is this Dignity Act, because the Dignity Act secures the border, targets, prioritizes the worst of the worst, and it provides a path to legal status and work permits for people that have been here, many for decades, in mixed status families, working, paying taxes. We deserve that this is necessary and urgent, and we're really grateful to the Congresswoman for her leadership. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to introduce Amanda Sueza Ribeiro, an impacted U.S. citizen, to share her story.
Good morning. This is my family. I'm their voice today, so I just want to put that there. Good morning. My name is Amanda, and I am a proud United States citizen, a mom, a nurse, and a very proud member of the American Families United. Thank you so much, Ashley and Allison and Julie. I would not be here today without you. I want to give a few minutes to share with you what this looks like for an average family. I was born and raised right there in Jacksonville, Florida, where I worked at the Florida Department of Health in Duval County as a public health nurse, and that is the same city that I met my husband, Wagner. We dated for 6 years before getting married. I had to make sure. And we got married in 2014. It's a long time. We've been together 18 years. During that time, he became the person who helped me rebuild my life. I'm a survivor of long-term childhood abuse. And Wagner was the first person who loved me for me and without judgment, through thick and thin. He loved my son from a previous marriage as his own. He encouraged me to go to nursing school and even helped me pay for my student loans, and created that sense of safety that my family never gave me growing up. I always knew that immigration history was going to be complicated, but like most Americans, I believe that being a United States citizen, marrying the man that I loved, meant we could fix this. I thought it would be a process. It might be long, very expensive, but ultimately straightforward. He's my husband now. This is my home. I was wrong. Soon after we got married, we met with an attorney and learned that Wagner would need a special waiver and essentially the government's permission to keep moving forward legally. We applied in 2014, where we wrote a letter of forgiveness, and it was approved by USCIS. We waited more than 10 years during that time. We also got other approvals. And during that time, we lived constantly in fear. In 2025, while his case was still pending on the 601A, ICE detained my husband in April. We waited for 3 months. We prayed every day for a decision that would keep us together. And instead, his waiver was denied by USCIS, and he was deported back into Brazil last year in June, the country he hadn't lived in for more than 2 decades. Losing him shattered the very foundation of our home. He was our rock. Over the past 18 years, we built a very big, beautiful family. 8 children in total, 8 boys. 3 who were born biologically to us, and 5 that we legally adopted through Duval County. And 1 he adopted from my previous marriage, whose father abandoned him. My sisters were addicts, and that's why we had to take their children in. Our children also have very significant medical and developmental needs. One of our boys passed away that October prior to his being arrested, just a few short months before. Levi was born with a severe heart and liver disease. And in May 2024, after awaiting very long, he was removed from the heart and liver transplant team from the Miami Transplant Institute, where we were seeking heart and liver. He was very rare, only 30 cases ever reported. Miami was one of the hospitals that decided to take his case. There was only 3 in the United States that would do so. And we lost him when he was 17 years old. Our biological son, in January, 2 months after our son passed away, had a 14-minute acute onset seizure in my arms that morning. And upon arriving to the hospital, they did an MRI where they found an inoperable cyst on his brain. And he then also went into the palliative program with Community Pete's Hospice. 2 of our boys have developmental issues. One's nonverbal autistic and the other one's Asperger's autism. During all this, I also lost my mom. And then, because of all the stress, I had a widowmaker heart attack at the age of 42 years old, where a stent had to be placed into my heart for me to sustain life. My cardiologist told me plainly, prolonged grief is not just emotional. My body literally could not withstand anymore. But we kept going because we're a family of faith. And after Wagner's deportation, we lost all of our business because ICE also detained every one of our workers. All of our income was gone. Our home was gone. I had to make the choice that made sense for me and my family considering the hardships. So what did I do? I packed my kids up and we got on a plane and we went to Brazil that July. Brazil's beautiful. The food is really good. And most of the meat you just eat right when it's killed. Sorry. I'm sorry. But it wasn't safe, not where we were. And the medical care for my children that I needed to survive just wasn't in that city that we were living in. We lived on a rural farm up in a region bordering Bolivia, where drug trafficking is very common. And as American newcomers who had a home and a car purchased for us by our local church, family, and friends, we were seen as wealthy, and that made us targets. We tried to make it work. Truly we did, but health care was not available, and my youngest son, who has the seizures, was displaying neurological issues, and we were informed to come back home and go back on to palliative program and get with a neurologist. And the medication for my heart wasn't present. We were living on the equivalent money to US dollars of $368 a month for a family of 7. I was pacing the kitchen praying for the bread, you know that scripture, but he provided. Eventually the doctor told us that was there. You need to go home if you want to live. And with a breaking heart, My husband and I made the decision to go back home without him. So I loaded my kids up, and I've been back in the country now for only 2 months. I had to file bankruptcy because our business was gone. And now I'm trying to find work, PRN, whatever I have to do to make ends meet that allows me to care for my kids with serious special needs, and me having a heart attack, to desperately find a way home to pay an attorney to bring my husband home. And here's the part that hurts the most. This did not have to happen. My family is separated because of our laws make it nearly impossible for undocumented spouses of United States citizens to fix their statuses, where they have lived for decades with U.S. children and even deported with our extreme hardships in all areas, not just one, most of them. I can't make sense of why my government, the country that I love, the country that I was born in, the country and the city that I served as a state employee at the Florida Department of Health in Duval County, would choose to separate my family. No one benefits from this. My sons growing up without their dad, my adopted children growing up without their adopted father, legal. No one benefits from me becoming a dependent on now I have to be on state programs after years of self-sufficiency. We never asked for 1 penny from our government before this deportation. No one benefits from a system that forces Americans into exile or forces our spouses out of our homes. Right now, there is a solution. 2 bipartisan bills in Congress, the Americans Family United Act, H.R. 2366, and the Dignity Act of 2025, H.R. 4393, would allow families like mine to stay together while they pursue legal process here in the United States, or for families like mine to allow them to come home. It's a humane thing to do. It's common sense. And it will allow my children to get their father back so we can navigate what we have to face in the future together. So today, as you hear the data, the stories, I ask you to remember this issue doesn't live in statistics. It lives in kitchens where we bake our bread that was being rationed. It lives in hospital rooms where a mother signs transplant papers. It lives in the quiet moments when a child asks, when is my daddy coming home? Because now we have to FaceTime him on our routines and rituals that he did every night. And I don't have the answer. None of us do. But one man does. If you are a congressional staffer, policymaker, or a community leader listening today, please help me fix this. My family story isn't finished by far. I believe with all my heart that Wagner will come home because he actually had a pathway. We were almost done. He had an approved visa. But no family should have to walk through this loss, this much hurt, without the one rock foundation that kept us together. Thank you for listening, and I'm just 1 in 1 million.
Thank you, everyone. We have 2 more speakers, and then we can pause for questions. We have Dwayne Musser, Vice President of Government Relations from the National Roofing Contractors Association.
Good morning. Thank you, and thank you, Ashley, for the introduction and for that very touching story. I'll just be brief in the interest of time. Dwayne Musser, Vice President of Government Relations at the National Roofing Contractors Association. We want to bring an employer perspective to this as well. We represent over 4,000 members of the roofing industry. NRCA is headquartered in Itasca, Illinois, and we represent contractors, manufacturers, distributors, and others within the roofing industry. And our members are generally small businesses employing 45 or fewer employees. And I am also here today on behalf of the Essential Worker Immigration Coalition, a group that we work with, have been working with now for many, many years, of business associations to try to get Congress to, in fact, deal with our immigration issues, which now have reached crisis proportions. NRCA, we've been working on this issue for more than 2 decades. We first had a small business roofing contractor testify before Congress. It was the Senate Judiciary Committee way back in 2004 to deal with the issue of workforce, undocumented persons, and all other aspects, border security, et cetera, of immigration reform. It is imperative now, given the passage of time, we've been working on this, Congress has failed to deal with it. It is imperative now, given what is happening within our industry and many others, that Congress redouble its efforts to move forward and pass legislation on this issue. And we want to reiterate our support for the Dignity Act. This legislation really balances our needs for further strengthened border security, as well as dealing with the workforce issues. And in particular, it has the Dignity Program that it would allow for long-term undocumented individuals, which have been in our workforce for many years, many with temporary protected status who were actually here legally. And also those in the DACA program would be able to transition and earn permanent legal status, and so they would be able to continue to contribute to our companies, our member companies, and as valued members of our communities, which they have been and then would continue to be. So it is time for Congress to move forward. We want to commend Congresswoman Salazar, Congresswoman Escobar, and the other co-sponsors, and that co-sponsor list is growing. We want to commend them for their leadership and call upon Congress and the Trump administration to work together on a bipartisan way to basically now move forward and pass the Dignity Act and deal with immigration reform, so we have more certainty with our business and our employees, and so roofing contractors can continue to provide affordable, life-saving shelter to Americans across the country. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Riley Lacey with the National Association of Evangelicals.
Good morning. Thank you, Ashley and Americans Family United, for the opportunity to be here. It's a real honor to be with you this morning. My name is Riley Lacey. I'm the Advocacy and Policy Manager for the National Association of Evangelicals. We bring together 40 evangelical denominations and hundreds of other churches, universities, and nonprofits, many of which are only growing and significantly growing because of vibrant immigrant communities. We know that right now many of them are hurting. They're living in fear. They're afraid to gather together to worship because of the impact of aggressive enforcement and deportation operations. And we recognize that our immigration system is broken in ways that harm U.S. citizens and immigrants. And we are particularly concerned for the impact this is having on mixed status households. While the majority of evangelical Christians do support the deportation of violent criminals, very few say the same about immigrants who have U.S. citizen children or spouses. That's a Lifeway Research poll from last year. And in a study we published in March of last year, we found that 1 in 12 Christians in the United States were themselves at risk of deportation or lived with a family member who was. And over the last year, we've seen this statistic become a reality in our churches and across the country, separating husbands and wives, splitting parents from children, even when one of the spouses is an American citizen, as highlighted so clearly in the important work of the Collateral Damage Report. And throughout Scripture, we see that the family unit is fundamental to God's good vision for human flourishing. One of God's final acts of creation in Genesis was the institution of marriage. And so as evangelicals today, we hold this same belief in the strength and power and sanctity of families, which is why it's unacceptable to us that American families can be ripped apart simply because one parent is an immigrant. This is why the NAE has been supportive of comprehensive bipartisan immigration reform proposals like the Dignity Act, which provides both an earned legalization process and a secure border, creating pathways for mixed status and immigrant families to ensure they are not subject to needless separation. Congress has the opportunity now to pass urgently needed legislation that protects our families and children, and we are endlessly grateful to Congresswoman Maria Salazar for her courageous leadership on this issue. Thank you for your time.